Hi, my name is Mikael Lemberg, and I am the advertising director of Comfo, which is a Danish company that optimizes and automizes ad purchases on social media. I'm here to talk to you today about how to boost your return on investment on social media by merging your ads and your content. Now, first of all, I want to show you this graphic here. Most of you guys are aware that when you have a Facebook page and you post something on your page, it doesn't necessarily mean that you reach all of your audiences. Actually, on average, every time you post a page post, it will only reach about 16% of your fans. In some cases, it might be more. If you're great at engaging, you can have way above 50% penetration on each post. And if you have communication challenges or a product that's hard to talk about, then you might have a lot less than 16% as well. But on average, looking at all the different pages on the Facebook platform, the average would be 16%. And most of you guys have heard as well that you can book some ads on the newsfeed of Facebook to make sure that these posts will reach a bigger audience. Now, you might think that that actually is the big solution to what do you do on Facebook, but that's actually only the start. Maybe you've heard of the 1-9-90% rule. It says that 1% of your customers will love your brand and follow you on any platform available. Just by being present, you will get those fans. Then 9% of your customers will fan you if you have an engaging page and you provide some valuable resources there and you engage well with people. But the last 90%, they probably won't like your page because they're not that much interested in you. They're more interested in what's going on with their friends on Facebook and so on. But that doesn't mean that you can't reach them on Facebook. You just have to reach them through the stories about their friends engaging with your brand. And that's the key to success on Facebook. If you change the behavior of 1% of your customers, it won't be visible on your bottom line. If you change the behavior of 9% of your customers, it will only be slightly visible. But if you change the behavior of 90% of your customers, then you will have an increased effect in your bottom line calculations. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, you need to realize that when we go online on Facebook, 40% of all the time we spend is spent on engaging with content in our newsfeed. In fact, every single day, Facebook delivers 180 billion newsfeed story impressions. That's a whopping number of stories, and it's almost hard to grasp. But 40% of all our time is spent in the newsfeed. So just by having a nice page with a beautiful cover photo and a few cool applications and a lot of fans, it doesn't mean that you are present or even visible on Facebook. You are only visible on Facebook if you're communicating on a daily basis in the newsfeed. So what you have to realize is that when you post your stories to newsfeed, they will be competing with a lot of other stories posted by friends and other pages that you like. Actually, on average, a Danish user has about 200 friends and likes about 50 pages on Facebook. And of course, not all of those are shown. The posts that are shown to me are the posts that are most relevant to me. Now, for instance, I might have been to a party this weekend, and all my friends are now uploading pictures from that party, tagging me on them and tagging my friends on them. And obviously, that's a very relevant story to me. This means that the story from your brand will actually be pushed out of newsfeed because it is deemed less relevant by Facebook. But now you can go in and you can make sure that this story will appear in newsfeed anyway by sponsoring it, by putting a small budget on it and making sure that this will be shown to more users. This is how you get your message across, this is how you're visible, and this is how in the end you will optimize your ROI. But to optimize your ROI, return on investment, also you need to know which of your posts are performing best against your business objective. In some cases, your business objective might be a high reach if you have a branding objective. It might be more fans if you're mostly interested in getting a bigger audience. Or it might as well be more sales in your web shop if that's what your main interest is right now. And it's very important for you to know what this objective is so you can benchmark yourself on the right numbers. What I suggest is that you go and look at some very specific numbers. Now, these are not available in the normal Facebook page insights. You have to go to page insights and export an Excel report from there to be able to see these numbers. But if you do so, you will be able to see what's your most viral post in terms of viral amplifications, what's your most spammy post in terms of negative feedback, and what's your most engaging post in terms of click-through rate. If you look at your viral posts, the most viral posts are the ones that has the biggest viral reach compared to your organic reach. So for every time one user sees a post just because he was a fan of your page, how many users will see your post because a friend interacted with your page? And what you want to see here is which of your posts are most viral and do they have something in common? If they have something in common, this is something you can learn from. This is a way for you to realize how can I optimize my communication to get a higher traction on my posts. Another interesting statistic is the most spammy posts. You can go and find these by finding the number of negative feedbacks on every single post and take that out as a percentage as the total number of your post consumptions. This will show you, out of all the people who have clicked on this post, how many people clicked with a negative interaction, such as a spam report, or hiding from newsfeed, or unliking your page. And this is an interesting number because, in fact, this is, if you should ever just track one number to figure out how am I optimizing for a higher reach, this is the number that affects your reach the most. Forget everything about edge rank and posting images versus video versus plain text. If there's one thing that affects your overall reach, it is the amount of negative feedback you get. So you want to know which of your posts has gotten the most negative feedback as a percentage of the total consumptions. And once you have this number, you will be able to see which topics am I talking about, which product am I talking about, what's the average tone of voice every time I get a lot of negative feedback. And by that you can adapt your content calendar to your performance benchmarks. The last number, of course, is your click-through rate on each post. Since Facebook measures the total number of impressions and total number of consumptions, not just on your paid reach, but also on your organic and your viral reach, it gives you the opportunity to calculate click-through rates even on posts that you have never sponsored. And this means that you can get a list of which of my posts actually created the highest number of engagements. And engagements in this case is not just the number of likes and the number of comments and the number of shares. It's opening a photo, playing a video, following a link, claiming an offer, and all these different kinds of things. And again, once you see which topics interest your fans the most, you will also know what to talk about in the future. And in this case, you will also be able to, for instance, take a look at which of my posts with high click-through rate also had a paid reach. In this example, I have 10 posts, and only one of them actually had paid reach. To me, that's actually 9 missed opportunities. If I have 9 posts who are insanely engaging and people are just punching the mouse button all the time, I want to sponsor those posts and make sure they have a bigger audience to generate more sales on my web shop or more awareness for my brand. So this is a great way to catch up with your own strategy and see if you're actually spending your money on the right posts. And now we're getting somewhere, because in the end, what you want is to make sure that somewhere between 1% and 10% of your customers that you have actually engaged as your fans, you shouldn't just consider them your customers. you should consider them your best sales representatives. So your primary objective to recruit 10% of your customer base as fans is to make sure that you can provide them with content that they want to share with the rest of your customers, the 90% who doesn't like you, but are most likely friends with someone who does like you. Now, once you've gathered these numbers, such as virality and spam score and click-through rate, it's also interesting to start looking at these numbers on a meta level across your post to figure out what's my optimal post length, what's my best kind of content types, and on which weekdays do I get the high click-through rate, a high viral amplification, or a high spam score. You can use this for a lot. First of all, of course, to fine-tune your content calendar, but also to make an analysis of how am I actually performing against my objectives and what kind of fans have I actually gathered. Now, for instance, if it turns out in this case that Sunday is the day where your spam score is highest, it might mean that the content you're posting on Sundays is remarkably different from the other weekdays, and your fans are reacting negatively to it. But it might also mean that for some reason your fans are just not as positive in their mood on Sundays as in all other days. And there could be valid reasons for this. Maybe it's due to your demographics work or family situations. Maybe they have small kids and the Sundays are the days where they're most tired. There could be a lot of reasons, and the most important thing for you is to figure this out so you can adapt your content strategy to what you know works as advertisements. Now, here in the end, I have one more great advice for you, which is to implement conversion tracking on your website. Facebook actually allows you, just as Google AdWords does, to track down exactly how each individual impression of your ad performs. So you know not just how many people clicked on my ads, how many people liked my page afterwards, but also how many people bought something on my web shop, how many people signed up for my newsletter after seeing my ad. And actually this goes further than what other analytics tools does as well, because you can see not just click-through conversions, but you can see view-through conversions and cross-device conversions. So normally you would just know in your Google Analytics that this conversion came because that a user clicked on a link from a website, and that's a Facebook conversion. In other cases, what actually might happen is that a person sees an update on his mobile phone, and he doesn't click it because he knows that your website doesn't perform very well on a mobile phone. What he does instead is to put his phone down and go on his laptop computer. And here he goes on your website and makes the purchase. No other analytics tool is able to track this conversion. But what Facebook does is to, when the pixel is triggered, go up in your browser history and check if you have an active Facebook session, if you're logged into Facebook. If that's the case, it will look up if you ever saw an ad for this product before you actually made the conversion. And if that's the case, it will register it as a conversion. So this means that even in the case where you see an ad on one device, you never interact with it, but it actually makes you go to another device and make a purchase, this is registered as a conversion with Facebook ad conversion tracking. This means that you have very clear perception on how does my newsfeed advertisement perform in terms of my business goals. And what it actually also does is it allows you to deliver your ads not just to people who like your page or people who often click on your ads or even people who often visit your website. It allows you to deliver your newsfeed ads to people who often buy stuff on your website and people who have the similar demographics and psychographics as people who often buy stuff on your website. Now, Facebook themselves says that this gives you up to 40% lower cost per conversion if you use conversion tracking and use the correct implementations of bidding mechanisms and delivery methods. And that's a great way to sum up what's the actual return on investment of my ads, how much money am I spending, how much money am I earning, and at the same time actually lower the cost per conversions as well. That's the best tips I can give you for boosting your ROI by merging ads and content on Facebook. Thanks.